I'm here today with Jenn Scalia, and we are talking about some of the secrets of millionaire entrepreneurs. Jenn, thanks so much for being here and talking to me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So tell me, what do you think it is? You are absolutely a sensation. People love you. They are flocking to you for advice. What do you think it is that has helped you to be so successful in business? And tell me just how you've been able to scale and be so successful really in what is somewhat a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's been quite a short amount of time. It's been about 3 years. And, I think that the number one thing that has helped me with my business and has really gotten me to where I'm at, success-wise and revenue-wise, is just being real. Being somebody who is really genuine, authentic, and really genuinely wants to help people and really genuinely wants to change the world. And I think that really is the mark of a true leader. And it's the mark of somebody who is iconic and who people just want to be around and people want to follow and people want to give money to, We don't, necessarily want to buy products or buy companies and things like that, but it's who you are. It's really who you are as a person, as a woman, as a business owner that really attracts those people to you. And, from 3 years, I basically went from zero to over $1 million. And it's just insane. It's so crazy how fast it's happened. And I actually started as a solopreneur, just like most people have. And I started out just doing everything myself, but I realized really quickly that it wasn't just about me. And I knew that I needed to bring people on to help me. And that's when my business really started scaling. That's when I was able to go from, struggling and really hustling a lot and putting in tons and tons of hours to being able to take off on Fridays and, still have the money coming in the bank.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned something, you said iconic. Talking about you've had a lot, you have certainly a huge following on the internet, but beyond that, you've actually really been able to stand out in mainstream media. Talking about some of the places you've been featured and if you think that's been important to your success.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been featured on entrepreneur.com, Business Insider, Forbes.com, Success Magazine. I've also had some cover features in some industry magazines as well, like Inspired Coach and some other ones. And I think definitely what it does is it positions you. Positioning is huge, and I talk about this a lot in my business as well. You don't want to blend in. You don't want to be the copycat. You want to be the one that stands out. And having that media and having that coverage and having these big name places really see you as the expert just positions you as the go-to. It positions you as the leader. It positions you as the expert. So it for sure has helped my business and just the way that my audience and the people that are even new to me see me.
That is so true. And that's one of the things I think for me, as somebody who is an expert in public relations and communications, I always try and share with people because I think, not all press is necessarily good press. Sometimes you hear that, and I don't think that's true. But when you really do look at what is good press and what helps, I think there's two different types. There's press that can really establish and reinforce your notoriety. But I think where people sometimes miss out is that there's also strategically press that you can do that really will help to strategically drive clients and drive additional revenue into your business. So one is sort of helping you decrease what you're spending on paid advertising and really increasing your exposure and making it so that when someone Googles you, because that's the first thing we all do before we give somebody any money, it makes them more likely to want to work with you. But how has that sort of impacted, your business and your life? Have you found that to be true? And have you been able to use the media strategically as a way to really funnel clients into your business?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, just this, what we're doing right now, it's perfectly in line with what I'm doing in my business. It's perfectly aligned with my positioning and what I do. And in the beginning, whenever I would get opportunities for interviews and podcasts and, all this stuff, I would always say yes. I was always like, yes, 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 yes. And now, Dale, I have, weekly dozens, I would say at least 2 dozen requests every week for either press or interviews or podcasts or articles or books even. And, I've been so selective recently about what I'm going to attach my name to, that I think is a huge thing because you don't know. Somebody could say, hey, you want to be in my book? And you're like, sure, but you have no idea what that person is like. You have no idea their integrity level, what they're going to do with that information. So I think it's important to be really selective and making sure that it actually is in line with, who you are and that you are operating in integrity when you do these things. And it's not just like, oh, I just want to get my name out there in as many places as possible.
No, I think that's so important and such a good point, because I think so many people, are just struggling to even just get an interview, right? So they're pitching themselves, they don't even know who to reach out to, and it's just sort of overwhelming. But I think it's really important to be strategic about it. And I think what you said is so key, just in terms of, it goes kind of back to one of the things that I talk about in this latest article of saying no. So, sometimes you do have to strategically say no. And I think you've really also seen something that is true with press, which is that momentum really can build and gain. So one article, one feature really tends to beget more and more and more. I know for myself, when I'm quoted in a story, when I'm on television, when I'm on the radio, then other reporters hear those stories, and then they're reaching out to me more and more to talk about that same topic again and again and again. I'd love to hear just sort of your final thoughts, your insight for our audience, because I know people love you, Jenn. You are so relatable and smart, and really what you've been able to grow your empire is just so impressive. So what advice do you have for folks out there that are watching that really just want to know, what are your best tips? What advice do you have for them that they're trying to grow from 30,000 or even six figures to get to the Millionaire Entrepreneur Club?
Yeah, I think it's really about standing out. It's really about cultivating something that is different than what's going on out there, because there's so much saturation that you have to stand out, but it's got to be authentic. It's got to be something that is like real, like for me, I talk about my story of divorce, my story of being an introvert, and that's what makes me really relatable. So I don't have any kind of like crazy thing, I'm not out there like, shooting videos on cursing and, like that's not the way that I get the attention. I get, what I called the quiet power. I just have this like essence about me. And I think it's really just understanding who you are and bringing that into your business and bringing that to your people. And, the second part of that is actually having a bigger vision and a bigger mission than just making the money, than just making the six figures or the seven figures. And it's really about, how do I want to impact the world? How do I want to impact people? And when you have that bigger vision and people feel that, that's when you really start to stand out and people want to be around you.
Absolutely. And I think you have such an amazing story. I know we've talked off camera and you've said that the story is so important. And I think your story is such an amazing story that's another key part to it is, it's not just about going out there and, like you said, making a lot of, crazy noise, but actually having a meaningful story. And in your case, also a very meaningful mission and something that you want to impact and improve the world with. So I think that's wonderful to leave our folks with.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Jenn. Really appreciate it. And it's such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.